Hello friends, this is Indranil and I welcome you back to my channel. Programming is fun. Today we will be working on another challenge from Frontend Mentor, and this time we will be creating this testimonials grid section. And as you can see, it has this nice layout which we will be creating using CSS Grid. And so we have to create two designs, one for the desktop and the other one for the mobile. So this is how it should look like in the smaller screens. So what you can do, you can log in, go to this page, log in with the credentials and click on the start challenge. So I have to log in and download the zip file. So I've already downloaded the zip file here, as you can see. So we have the design folder, we have the images folder and the style guide and the index file. So let's open the style guide and see what we have. Okay, so this guide says we should be using these colors. These are the neutral ones, and also we will be using this font size and this font family. Let's quickly copy the images folder and the index file to our project folder. For that, I have already created a brand new project in my IDE, that is WebStorm, but you can use any IDE of your choice. So I'm simply copying these two folders. And for the styling, I will be using the Sass preprocessor. For that, I'll quickly create a folder here. I'll name it Sass. And also I'll create a style sheet and choose the extension SCSS. I'll name it styles.scss. And to compile this SCSS file into CSS, you would need the Sass installer. So you can install it using the command npm install Sass and use the -g flag for global installation. I already have that installed in my system, and make sure you also have the node package manager installed. So in my IDE, I can configure a file watcher so that I don't have to run the command manually, and this will automatically compile my Sass file into CSS whenever there's a change. And I want to put this in the CSS directory. So it's /css/file name. So I want the directory to be created here at the root, and that will be the CSS directory. I'll put it here as well as here, and this is only for WebStorm. Okay, for other IDEs, I really don't have a clue how will you configure the automatic Sass compilation, but there should be a way or a plugin or an extension available to do that. Okay, so make sure you check the IDE documentation for that. And here I'm also going to insert the project file directory for the output path. I'll remove the autosave, and this is fine. So with this in place, I hit OK. I only have one Sass file right now. So let me just enter something so that I get the first, I get the compiled version. So I'll simply write margin 0, padding 0, box sizing, border box. And as soon as I hit save, you can see it's compiling here at the very bottom, and this is my compiled version. Okay, I got this. So now if I add something more, like I also add the pseudo elements, oops, and hit save. So make sure you check this section here. Where you see running file watcher, and now my style sheet has been updated. So let's quickly link this style sheet. So the title here would be Testimonials Grid. challenge. And below the title, I'll simply link my style sheet. Okay. And this is the body that you get without any HTML markup. This is the plain body. So we will create the markup and also then we will work on the styling part. So now once this is done, I'll click on this icon here. So this will start a live server. And for CSS Grid or any CSS related work, I would prefer or suggest you to use Firefox. Okay, so let me do that, and this is the output. So let's quickly close this page. We don't need it. And before moving further, let's quickly open this font website from Google and get the fonts. So we will need the 500 and 600 weights there. So 500 is medium and 600 is semi-bold. Let's copy this link tag from here and paste it above our style sheet. Save the changes, and if you check on the browser, okay, I can also close this if needed. So let's work on the markup first. So if you see the design, let me open the desktop design here. So you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, you can say, and we would need for CSS grids, as you know, that it requires rows and columns. So we just have a look, can estimate that how many columns we would require. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so our entire page will be of 4 columns, and within those 4 columns we will try to fit these contents. Okay, let's start working on it. So first of all, let's quickly create the markup here. So for that, I'm gonna create a wrapper to hold the entire page, and I'm using Emmet here in my IDE. It's already inbuilt, so I can simply type dot for class and give the class name, and as you can see, this gives me the what do you call the output. I mean how it will look like. So if I instead of dot, if I use hash, so this will be my output. Okay, it's a preview. So inside the wrapper, so this wrapper will be my main grid grid wrapper or container. So this will be my main grid container. Okay, the wrapper element. Inside the wrapper, I will have a div, again the class of purple. So I'm naming these classes or divs based on this design. So this is my purple, this will be my tall white, something like that. This is my gray, dark gray, or maybe light gray and white, like that. So I'll name these 5 boxes as per the background colors. Okay, so every div will have a top div, a middle div, and a bottom div. This is because if we go back to the design, we have a top area where we have this small avatar followed by the name and the title. Then we have this middle section and this bottom section. Every card has the same layout. Okay, so for the purple, the top would have a span tag. I mean, every top would have a span tag, which inside which we'll have a image tag. So this image source will be images, and the first one is Daniel. Okay, and below the span tag we'll have a div which will hold my heading, that's my name, and the what do you call the status. Okay, it's a verified graduate. The middle one here, the middle section or the middle div would have a paragraph and the text inside it. So this is the text, and the bottom section would also have nothing and no paragraph. So it's a block code kind of thing. So I'll simply cut it and put it inside the bottom div. Okay. The next class here, so the purple one is done. I'm gonna collapse it. Next one I need is the gray, top, middle, bottom, middle, bottom. Similarly, have a span tag and the image. So this is Jonathan. Under images, Jonathan. Div h2, so that will be my name, Jonathan Walters, and the status, that is verified graduate. Middle one would have a paragraph. This is the text, and the bottom div will only have this quote here. So this is where my gray ends. Now the next one is my white small, and I'll simply copy these three divs. Okay, because I don't want to type it again manually, everything. So I'll simply copy the markup and replace the content there. So it's Janet. Replace the name here, and this will be also changed. Janet, and this verified graduate is same. I don't need this. This is the text, and this is the code. So this is just my preferred way of doing, but you can do it in your way. You can give these classes any name you want. I chose it to stick to the colors, their background colors. So it's gray long. So long means this one. It's gray long. Okay, this is just gray. This is white tall, and this is just white. So gray long will again have the same structure here. So this belongs to Patrick, and Patrick Abrams, verified graduate, same thing. And this is my paragraph, and this is my code. Save. So below gray long, I'll have white tall. So let's see, we have white small, we have gray, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last one, white tall, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. So let's copy the same structure again, copy, and replace the content. And it doesn't matter where, I mean, in which order you create these parent divs, like white tall, gray long. You don't have to follow the same order, because in grid we'll be placing them specifically to the correct spot. So it doesn't really matter in which order you're creating these divs or the markup. Okay, so you can follow any order you want, and it should line up properly. Well, there we have. If I just go back to my browser, so this is how it looks at present, and I need to change this. So if I go here, this should be Kira and Kira. This should be Patrick and Patrick. Let's see the white small. We check it. Perfect. So save the changes, go back to the browser. We have the correct images and their respective information. So now it's time to work on the what do you call the styling part, because we have the markup ready. So let's go back here, and I'm simply going to move my style shape to the right hand side. So I'll use the split and move right option so that I can see my markup here and work on my styling. Okay, so we already have this defined, the reset here. Let's define some CSS variables under the root element. So let's define some colors: moderate, violet, and the color would be this one. Okay, HSL, copy and paste it there. And I don't like keeping my colors in HSL format. I would prefer to change them to the hex value. So this is the corresponding hex value that you should get, or you can simply check this color online and see what's the corresponding hex value in case your IDE doesn't have this feature of converting from HSL to RGB or to hex. Okay, so I already have these variables created for the various colors that we have in this guide. If we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 colors, that includes white also, so I'll have that too. So I'll simply paste it from my notes. So these are the 6 colors, as you can see. Nothing fancy. It's a simple CSS 3 variables. So, and I can use these variables wherever I want in my entire project. Okay. Also, let's say you have a paragraph tag, you can define its local variable also, like text light, and I can give it any color you want, like maybe green. So this variable here, the difference between these variables and this variable is that these are available to the whole project and to every block of code, because this is defined in the root section. However, this variable is only available locally to this p tag. All right, let me remove this. So I'll say HTML. I'm targeting the HTML tag, and say font size 100%. Next, go to the body tag, where we will define the font size, that is 13 pixels in our case as per the guide. Let's quickly see that again. So font size is 13 pixels, and font family will be, if I have that still open, no, so that will be Barlow semi-condensed, and also use sans serif as the fallback font, and this is based on this font family given here. Okay, so I'm also giving the whole body a padding top of 2.5 rem. So rem is basically 1 rem equals to 16 pixels. Okay, that's a default here. But since I am using font size 13 pixels, no, so this is the correct value here. Okay, so 2.5 rem means 2.5 times of 16. So we can see that in the browser developer tools also. Let's quickly add the padding bottom. So I'm giving them individual padding top and padding bottom because I don't want to reset the padding left right, which is coming from here. That will be 0 by default, because I don't, if I use padding shorthand, that will also reset my left right, just in case I don't want to do that. So now if I go back to the browser and open the developer tools here and see the computed values, so you can see the padding bottom is 16 pixels because I have one rem here, and padding top is 40 pixels, that is 2.5 times of 16. Okay, so if you want to change the value of one rem, what you can do, you can reduce this value. So if I reduce it to 62.5 approximately, I believe this should be, the one rem should become 10 pixels or something like that. Let's see. If I save changes, go back to browser, yeah, so padding bottom became 10 pixels and this is 25. So this really matters. So I'm keeping it at 100% for a reason, so that my one rem will be equal to 16 pixels, which is the browser default value. Okay, so next we have to target the wrapper, the main wrapper or the grid container. So let's target that using the dot symbol, that is the class, and I want to give it a max width of 1400 pixels for the larger screen. So I'm starting it from desktop first. I'm not using the mobile first approach, so this is the desktop first approach, and we'll define the styles for the larger screens first. I want to give the wrapper a padding all around of 6.5 rems. So this is a value I calculated earlier, and also let's give it a margin bottom of 1.3 rems. And it's always good to have these rem units instead of pixels for your font sizes and paddings, because these are responsive. Let's say we want to center the entire wrapper thing on the page. So right now, if you see, it's aligned to the left. We don't. This is the padding that we have of 6.5 rems, but this container is still not centered. So to center it, we'll use the margin left auto and margin right auto properties. Next, we will make it a display grid container using the display grid. So but if you do that, once you do that, you will not notice any difference here. So my container is centered, but I don't see any difference like we see in case of Flexbox. So if I change it to Flex, we'll see every item lines up next to each other. Okay, this is how it behaves in case of Flexbox, but in case of grid, nothing happens until you define the grid columns and grid rows. So let's quickly define the grid template columns, and I want 4 columns as we saw. So I'll use the repeat function. So we'll repeat 4 times, and the size I want is 1 fractional unit. I'm not defining a fixed width here for these columns. I'm giving them the flexibility to expand and shrink based on the content they have. And the rows, I want the rows to be auto. Okay, so next what we can do, so let me quickly go back to my browser and open the, okay, so now you see my content has lined up in different columns. So 1 2 3 4. So this is my grid container. As you can see, I have grid written here, and if I click this element, so this is my grid. Okay, and it has got 2 rows and 4 columns at present. So, okay, and also I can come here in my Firefox layout tab and display the line numbers. So the way we position items in CSS Grid is using these line numbers, or there is another way, and that is the way we will be using. We will be following in this tutorial, that is grid areas. But let me just show you how you can position these elements based on the line number. So you see, we have 1 2 3 4 5 okay, like 5 lines. So let's say if I want to place, I want this box to occupy 2 columns. So what I can do, so we have line from line 1 to 3. So I'll go here inside my wrapper. I'm still inside the wrapper. Let's say this is my purple div, and I'll use the grid column property. Okay, so starting from 1, I want to expand, I want it to expand to till line number 3. So as soon as I hit save, go back, I see this has shifted to the right and I have 2 elements now. So this was the last element here. It got pushed down to the next row since my purple div is occupying 2 columns now. Okay, but this is not the way we will be doing it in this tutorial, because it's really hard to remember the line numbers, although you can also give these line numbers names, okay, like a column start, column end, but I don't like that approach either. What I will do, I will define my areas, okay, template areas, grid template areas. And the way you define the grid template areas, so let's say I have, so you open quotes, okay, and this one quote is your one column, or sorry, this one what do you call, one quote is your one row. I'll have 3 rows, so I can give any name I want here. So I want the purple item to expand 2 columns. So as soon as you give a space, this becomes 1 column. This is my first column, space, this is my second column. And as we know, we have only 4 columns available. So third will be my gray, and this is my white tall. So I have 4 columns and 4 elements now. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So purple, gray, white tall. Purple, purple, gray, white tall. Similarly, for the next row, I'll have the same thing. For the last one, it will be white, gray, long. That's my long gray area or box, and this is still be white tall. Okay, so you have to give it a rectangular or square structure. So I cannot put purple gray here, purple value here. I mean, this will be a L-shaped structure that is not allowed. You can either have a square structure or this rectangular structure, or simple one box structure. And it's really hard for me to explain this, because this is first row, this is second row, and this is third row, but still it is not going to do anything. As you can see, we still have the same thing, and you can see these are my grid area names displaying here, and this is really helpful. Okay, so now what I will do, I'll go to my purple box and say grid area, and not dot, grid area, and give it a name of purple. Ignore this color, this is coming because purple is also a CSS color property name, but this has now given the div with an purple, and we were able to place it specifically in these 4 cells, you can say. Let's see. You see, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 all purple. Similarly, we can go to, let's say, gray, and say grid area gray, and next we have gray long, grid area gray long. The other one is white, grid area white. The last one is white tall, grid area white tall. Save the changes and go back to the browser. So you see how easily we were able to place these items in the respective area, and they will stick here no matter what. If I even squeeze it like this, expand it, no matter what, they will stick to their defined locations. Okay, and if you try to do this with any other technology like flexbox or floats, it is really difficult. Okay, and even with line numbers, it is little challenging to remember the line numbers and place them in the proper manner. But with the grid area names, it is really easy and effective. Okay, as you can see, so it took me less than uh, less than a minute complete this design. I mean, after we completed the markup, only this section took me very small time, and I can easily refactor this for smaller devices. Okay, let me show you that, and then you will truly understand the power of CSS Grid. So let's say for smaller screens that has a max width of let's say 991 pixels. Okay, I want the grid template columns to become 1. Okay, but I want to limit their minimum width to 400 pixels. So the grid cells will never get squeezed below 400 pixels, but they can expand as big as they want. Okay, this is what this min max function means here. So my minimum width should be 400 pixels for my grid cells, but it can expand as long as they want. And this is for the smaller screens, so I'll only have one column here. Okay, and I want to redefine my grid template areas, and now I'll have 5 different rows, because I told you that one quotation mark means one row. So first row will have purple on top. This is the topmost element. Then we will have the gray element. Then we will have the white, then gray long, and white tall. If you want, you can also put them in different lines for better visibility. Okay, this, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that you will understand that this is the stacked version. So if I go back to my browser, and this is my current browser width. So if I reduce it to, let's say, 991. Okay, so till 991, this is what they follow. So they stick to their places no matter what. And as soon as you lower it down to 991, so everything is stacked. Okay, so you see how easy it is to create responsive designs with CSS Grid, and they will stick to this layout no matter how small the device is. But after 400 pixels, it will not squeeze any further. As you can see, I can stretch it, but I cannot squeeze it below 400 pixels. Right. So now let's style these individual elements. Also, I want to give a gap between these elements of 20 pixels. So gap is a property of CSS Grid, and now also Flexbox has this implemented. So the height will be auto for wrapper, and the background color for the wrapper, I'm going to use the variable light grayish blue. This is this color. Save the changes and let's have a look. There we go. This is my wrapper element. All right. So for my media query, there's one more thing I would like to add here, and that's the middle content, which will have a font size of 1.2 rems. So for all these classes like purple, white small, white, gray long, and gray, I want to give some common styling. First one is the padding all around. That will be 2 rem for everyone. I mean for every div, and a border radius of 5 pixels to have some nice rounded edges. And the images that are there inside these 5 divs will also have a border radius of 50% to give it a round shape, and a width of 70%. Otherwise it will be too big. Okay, let's say the changes, go back to the browser. Okay, this is how it looks right now. Right, I have to work on it a little bit. So now this purple element, let's work on the purple element. So after the grid area, to give it a background. Oops, I removed the semicolon. Color of moderate violet, that's the color, and the text color should be white. The grid area is defined, and if you notice this design, it also has this background image, that are quote marks. Okay, so I'm gonna define a background image and give it a URL of images VG pattern. So this SVG file is provided inside this images folder along with the project files. So if I hit save now and go back here, so this is how it looks. Okay, it's repeating everywhere. We don't want that. So we'll first fix the repeat property. So background repeat, no repeat. And also the background position should be top right, and the background size will be 122 pixels here, and the background position X property will be around 80%. So once you define all these settings, hit save. This is placed nicely to the appropriate area. Let me see where this is coming from. I think I don't need it. Let me comment this out. Perfect. And if needed, I'll uncomment it later. So inside the purple, I'll simply target the bottom, and the padding right I need is 2.5 rems. So now see, it's pushed from the right, 2.5 rems. Okay, now we have to work on this top and middle section. So since top and middle is common for everyone, top, middle, and bottom, so this is the specific style to the bottom div inside the purple parent div. Okay, but now I'm defining the global styles for top, middle, and bottom. Starting with the top will have a display of flex. It will have a gap of 30 pixels, and I want to align the items to center. Also a margin bottom will be of 1 rem. Save the changes. There we go. We have display flex here, the gap of 20 pixels for every div here. Okay, and then margin bottom of 1 rem. So you see there's a gap between the two elements, or two sections rather. Inside this top we have H2, which I want to give it a font size of 12 pixels, and the paragraph tag, for which we'll have a color and color light gray. So these are the global styles. So if you want to override these styles, you can define these relevant sections inside their appropriate color divs. Okay. Similarly, the middle one will have margin bottom 1 rem, font size of 1.4 rems, so it will be bigger than 16 or 16 pixels, of course, and the font weight is 500. And for the bottom, the global styling will be pretty simple. So I'm gonna define a color. So I'm using the darken function. So there are two functions in CSS, darken and lighten. So you define a color here, CF, CF, CF. So this is the default color. And you can lighten this by certain amount or certain percent. So let's say 20%. The line height, I want this 1.5. So save, go back. Okay, this is the output. And it got applied to every div here, as you can see. Okay, this is my overall styling. Now I have to style the individual divs here. So for purple, we have already finished it. Let's target the gray one, gray. So we'll have a background color of very dark grayish blue and a color of white. Grid area is already there. Let's have a separate bottom, adding right 2.2 rems. So this is only for the gray box. Okay, not the gray long, the gray which is on the top hand side. Let me show that. This is the gray box. Okay, and this is the padding on the right hand side. Next, let's target gray long. So grid area is defined there. Background color, swar, very dark blackish blue. Color is, the text color is white. And the bottom will have a padding right 2.5 rems. So you can change these values and play with yourself, but play at your end with these values. But I have already calculated these values, so I know what will be the ideal value for the padding right or padding left. Okay, so this is how it looks now after giving the styling. The next area is white. This is the default white. So I have white small here. It should be white small. Okay. And the grid area. So you can have different grid area names and the grid and the actual color class name. Okay, so this is white. That's my grid area is white, but the class name is white small. So white small will have a padding of 2.8 rems all across, and the middle one will have a color of very dark grayish blue. Now white tall will have a padding 1.8 rems all across. Its middle element will have very dark grayish blue, same color. And apart from that, I also want to have some common stylings for both white small and white tall. And inside this common styling, I would have the background color. They both have the same background color, which is white. And they also have the text color, which is common, that is very dark blackish blue. middle one, this should be grayish blue. Okay, let's save. Okay, perfect. See, this is my finished product, you can say, or finished outline. So we completed it in less than 1 hour, I believe. And if I go to the responsive mode, it needs a little bit of work, because this is my screen. You see, I cannot go less than 300 pixels. Okay, so let's 400 pixels. So let's change this value. Where is it? 400, the media query. Where is it? The media query. There you go. Let's put it 300. Okay, because my font size, or the responsive size, now it's perfect. See how responsive it is. Okay, so this pretty much concludes our design. So we have finished the design. Now you can simply upload this entire thing in your GitHub and submit it to the Frontend Mentor solution section. So yeah, so that's about it. In the next challenge, we will work on maybe a difficult one. So there is one which has a theme switcher kind of thing. So we'll work on that challenge. But this challenge is over, and I hope you learned something new about the CSS Grid, and now you should be able to create your own layouts and when flexible layouts using CSS Grid. And this is very easy. If you just work with CSS Grid for few hours, you will understand the entire concept. So with Flexbox, it's just one directional, either a row or column. But with CSS Grid, you can manage both the rows and columns. Right? I hope you liked it. So please share your thoughts or comments in the comment section below. I will be sharing the GitHub link to this project in the description of this project or this video. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video, share it with your friends. So I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care and keep learning.